Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's Instagram and Facebook Live. My name is Janelle Alexandra, and every week I go live on an area of personal development and purpose. And yeah, I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time to hop on before we begin. But welcome. If you are tuning in for the first time, please tell me your name and where you're tuning in from. Hello, Sheila. Okay, so first things first, I am simulcasting. So if you see me looking to two different directions, it's because I'm live on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. So my name is Janelle Alexandra again, and I am tuning in from Atlanta, Georgia, where it still feels like we're in the dead heat of summer. I don't know about y'all. I don't know where y'all are from or where you're at right now, but it's been around 95, 96 degrees here. And I am from Ohio originally, and so I am craving that cool, crisp fall air. Back at home, I think it's in the 70s right now, and I'm so jealous. I don't know when Atlanta is gonna catch up, but hopefully it will be soon, right? Okay. Hi, good morning. Sheila from Boston. So happy to have you here. If you tune in anytime, please feel free to just share with me where you're from and who you are. I always love to know a little bit more about you guys. Okay, so I know I'm coming on here a little bit late. I was having some technical difficulties this morning, but if you are tuning in on Facebook Live, you'll notice that there is an increase in quality with the camera. I actually went ahead and bought a camera attachment just because my laptop is from 2012. I have an old MacBook, and it was just looking so fuzzy to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. And so things look a lot much more brighter, and I'm very happy for that. Sheila says, it's getting cool here. It's about 55 degrees. I'm jealous. It's been really hot and humid. The mornings haven't been as bad, but I feel like it heats up pretty quickly. So by 9 or 10, it's probably at least in the 80s. So definitely enjoy that cool weather, Sheila. Hopefully we'll be heading in that direction soon. Okay, so I want to get started with today's live. And so again, if you're tuning in, my name is Janelle Alexandra, and I'm the certified life purpose coach behind Life Designer University. And Life Designer University is a coaching and personal development company where we coach Christian millennial women who are really experiencing this tension, but they really want to just quiet the voice of culture so that they can uncover their purpose and design a life that they and God love. So normally they're in a place where, they're just experiencing this tension between curating a successful career and really designing a purpose-driven life that is in alignment with God's will and plan for their life. And so I've created a framework that allows women to really just cast a vision for their life, because sometimes we don't know everything that we want, but we can always identify what we don't, right? And so our vision allows us to have direction. And so it may not be like a GPS where we have step-by-step instructions about, which way to go, but like a compass, we know that if we head in the right direction that we're going to get to our destination. So we always start by casting the vision of a purpose-driven life. And from there, just uncovering your purpose by looking at what's already inside of you and the tools that God has given you. I always say that purpose is not lost. It's already operating inside of you 9 times out of 10. You just haven't been aware to it. And so what we do is we help you uncover your purpose by looking at what is called the 4 core directions. So you're looking inwardly at your design. You're looking forward to your passions, you're looking backward at your preparation, and outward to your calling. And so where all those things integrate in the middle is your purpose. And then from there, we're getting really clear about where you are in your calling journey, because, just because you received revelation of your calling doesn't mean that it's time for your release just yet. How many of us know that there's a process and preparation in our calling, right? the Lord has to refine us and develop us into who we need to be in order to be suited for the call. And then from there, we're just really setting purpose-driven goals, because goals allow us to focus and zero in on what matters, and create momentum and develop the discipline to make those things happen. And then accountability in place, make sure that you're going to finish what you say that you're going to start. So that's just a little bit about the university and the work that I do here at Life Designer University. And every month within that, I'm always giving you guys topics and themes that we focus on. And so this month has all been about master your time and really making most of the opportunities that God has given you. And so it really just stemmed from, just hearing across the board, and even sometimes myself. I feel like we've all have said at some point that, there's just not enough time in the day or in the week to just do all the things that you want to do. So whether you're getting to the end of the week and you have all these different responsibilities of work or at church or at home, and you have these passions that are bubbling deep inside of you, and you know that you have a purpose and you know how you have a calling, but there's just never time to pursue those things. And I know we can be agitated because, we hear things like, oh, well, you have just enough as much time as Beyonce has in her day to, accomplish all the things that she accomplishes. But then again, Beyonce does have money and she does have a team, right? And so we may not have the resources that Beyonce has or any other public figure or celebrity or influencer has, but we do all have the same time. And it's not about doing all the things, but doing the right things that are really going to have the most impact in the kingdom, in our lives, and the lives of those around us, and also doing the things that are going to add the most value. And so really the scripture that is, or the theme that the scripture, or the scripture that the theme is focused on, sorry y'all, coffee still hasn't fully kicked in, but it's Ephesians 5, 15 through 17. I'm going to read it. And so this is Paul talking, and he says, so be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. Don't act thoughtlessly, but understand what the Lord wants you to do. And I just want to camp out here really quickly, because I believe that a lot of us are running around, we're being stretched so thin, we're confused, and we don't know the next steps because we don't understand what the Lord wants us to do. Instead of making wise decisions, instead of really submitting our plans to the Lord and being patient to receive guidance and direction, we act thoughtlessly. We just do the first thing that comes to mind, or we do the first thing that somebody tells us to do, to the point where we're not necessarily making our own decisions. We're living life on autopilot and by default instead of by design. And so we take so much on our plate out of obligation, or out of fear, or out of shame, or out of the fact that, we just don't, we're afraid to give our all to ourselves, but we're so easily to give it all away to other people. And it gets to the point where we don't have enough time because we're spending our time doing everything else but what the Lord has called us to do. And so this month, it's really about understanding that the only way that we can make the best use of our time and every opportunity that God has given us is to understand what the Lord wants us to do, and to focus all our efforts on doing just that. So last week, or the first week, was all about getting clear on your mission. And so your mission consists of your purpose, your life vision, your calling, and your current assignments. And so we talked about that the first week, and if you want to tune in into that video, it is on Facebook Live. You can also find it on the blog at lifedesigneru.com/blog as well. And last week we talked about really just determining and redefining our priorities, because it really is our priorities that keeps us focused on the things that matters most. Where we deter or where we get messed up is when we start doing things that have us busy instead of purposeful. And so it could look like you have a really full schedule and a really full to-do list. And it could be of things that don't matter, that don't add value, that don't give you energy, and that just keeps you going to this point where you are living on default instead of really being proactive and choosing the things that are going to matter most in your life and those around you. And so that's what we talked about in last week's live. And I also gave you tips on not only just how to refine your priorities, but also to determine what the purposeful priorities are. And so I always say the purposeful priorities are the tasks or activities that are going to be life-giving to you and help you to focus on what matters. So instead of just creating a to-do list, we're really curating a list of our priorities and focusing there first before we do anything else that's on our typical to-do list, okay? And so again, that is also on the blog as well and on Facebook Live if you want to go back and rewatch it. And so this week, it's all about how to clarify your roles and responsibilities. I read this book last year. It's called What's Best Next? That's a tongue twister, but it's by Matt Perman, and really it talks about a gospel-centered view of productivity and how to make sure that you are focusing on the things that the Lord wants you to do and doing the right things and getting those things done. And so it's a phenomenal book. It is on Amazon, so I would recommend that you go pick it up. But he talks about how like how roles are and the different responsibilities that we have. And so the thing is, we all have roles. I feel like life is almost like a play, and we all have roles to play and perform in specific to that. And so he defines roles as a defined area of responsibility. And I like to add to that to say that assignments are roles are assignments given to us by God. And so we all have an area where he calls us to focus on, and he gives us responsibilities that are going to be in tandem with those roles. But here's the caveat. There are some roles that are God-given, and there are other roles that are self-assigned. And the problem is it becomes when we just start taking on so many self-assigned roles and responsibilities due to obligation or due to fear or to the fact that we want to please somebody else or to the place where we're seeking validation. And so it gets to the point where we're bogged down by all these different to-dos, all these different responsibilities that were never ours to even bear in the first place, and we're burdened by them to the point where we feel like we don't have enough time to do the things that we want to do because we're doing everything else that everybody else wants us to do. And so it's important that we take the time and we stop and ask ourselves, if we're really fit for the roles that we're in, or we're just trying to force it. And I feel like when you're forcing it, when it doesn't flow effortlessly, when you know that you're doing it out of a place of resentment sometimes or bitterness, and you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to try to do this so I can, make a clean cut here and move on. Did the Lord even tell you to take that on in the first place? It's so important to discern whether the roles and responsibilities you have right now are God assigned, and these are assignments that he is giving you to cultivate and steward, or these are just things that you have picked up just because. And that, again, goes back to understanding what the Lord wants you to do, because when you can understand that, you know how to really clarify what roles are going to be significant and the responsibilities are going to help you to carry out those roles. So let's talk about how you can really clarify the roles and responsibilities that you have. And yes, I do have my notes to keep me focused. Okay, so the first thing is to reflect on your roles and responsibilities that you currently have. So if you can just take a moment to consider the various roles that you play in every avenue and space of your life right now. So I want you to go beyond the context of just work or even just at home. I just want you to think about all the roles that you play in every sphere of your life. And think about the different venues that come to your mind. And I actually want you to go and list out these things. So I don't care how you list it out. You can list it out on a piece of paper. You can list it out on your phone in the Notes app. Just take a moment to write everything down, because writing everything down is going to help you to do the next tip, which is to eliminate the roles and responsibilities that no longer fit. So once you have reflected on that list, you listed everything out. Now it's time to really, again, discern what is the thing that God has given you? Like, what has he assigned to you? And so some clear responsibilities and distinctions that the Lord has assigned to you may be the role that you're currently in with work. And here's a caveat here. Sometimes the roles that God assigns us in are not necessarily things that we like. And it's because they're supposed to be a tool for our character development and our preparation and our purpose, okay? So I had a role that I was in earlier this year. I was working like part-time at a boutique, and I felt like I had no business being there. And I'm just gonna be honest, I'm gonna be transparent. I always say I have nothing to hide, right? And so I was there, and I just was not happy while I was there. But now, like reflecting back on that role, there was so much, although I was upset, I was irritated, I was frustrated, I felt like, Lord, why do you have me here? There was a purpose for me being there, and it wasn't about me. It was about the people that the Lord connected me with to do life with while I was there, who I'm still doing life with after I left, right? And so sometimes those roles and responsibilities that are God assigned don't necessarily look like we think they should, right? They may not necessarily be our ideal role, but there are assignments for a reason. And here's the thing, assignments do have an end date. They do have an expiration date, but we have to make sure that we complete the assignment before we move on to whatever God has for us next, right? And so we have to discern and understand, okay, what are the things that are God assigned, that are God given? So that may be a role as a wife or a mother. These are things that you can't just like, oh, well, I can't be these things anymore, right? These are areas of stewardship where the Lord has called you to cultivate and steward. So those kind of roles are God assigned. Now, other roles that are self-assigned may be things that you have voluntarily taken on, that maybe that the Lord has not given you specific instruction about, like whether you should have done that or not. So it could be just like a volunteer thing at whoever's organization that you decided to take on. It may be a friend, you see a friend struggling with their blog or with their work or something, and you just decided to help them with their business or something that's going on. These things may be self-assigned, and these may or may not be things that the Lord has called you to do. So that is up for you to discern the specific things in your life that you have taken on, whether those things have been given to you by the Holy Spirit or they have been given to you by self or other people out of a place of obligation, shame, fear, guilt, or even like just seeking validation to make it seem like you're worthy to pursue whatever it is, okay? And one of the best ways to understand if you're in that position is to ask yourself, like, am I doing this from a place of genuine service and love? Or is there a little bit of resentment or like obligation that is tied to whatever I'm doing right now? Because if it's not from a place of pure intentions and pure motives, then you probably took it on out of like the wrong place. And the Lord may be wanting you to shift your focus and to remove yourself from those roles so you can focus on the things that He has specifically called you to do. And so again, I can't tell you that for yourself. You have to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to lead you and guide you and direct you on discerning what is from Him and what is not. And so once you have eliminated the roles and responsibilities that no longer fit, then you can move on to number 3, which is grouping your roles and responsibilities into categories. And so these different categories can be your life, it can be your work, it can be your personal life, family, career, relationships. Group these roles into these categories, because from there you can really understand the different areas that the Lord has called you to cultivate and steward. Like for me, a lot of my roles fall into not just work, but I'm a wife as well. And so that's kind of grouped into relationships. So are my friendships, family is a whole different role. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, so understand the different spheres of your life and cultivate like with like, okay? And then from there, number 4, you can determine how your priorities and goals relate to your roles. So this is why it's so important to define the role before you understand the context of how your priorities need to fit with that role. Because here's the thing, for me, my marriage and my family comes before my work, right? And so my responsibilities within family and my marriage, because those things come before my work, that means I'm going to prioritize things with my husband and with my family before work. Although work is still important, it's not at the top of my list. Same thing with faith. Faith triumphs all those things, right? And so I'm going to be making sure that all my priorities, all my goals related to my faith those are going to be the top things I'm going to be focused on before my marriage, before my family, and before my work, right? And so when you understand those roles and you understand the priorities and goals and how they relate to them, that way you can highlight and prioritize just the different vehicles for which you're to carry those roles out, because they're going to help you to move in your purpose and focus on the things that matter. So I always say that purpose gives you foundation, your vision gives you direction, and your goals give you focus, right? So therefore, you have to understand how the context fits together. It's not like our family is over here, our personal life is over here, our marriage is over here, our work is over here, and everything else is over here. Like, no, all these things integrate together, right? All these things are supposed to be working in tandem together for our purpose and for God's glory. And so we have to understand the context of how they fit together. And from there, when you understand your priorities and your goals, now you can set 1 to 3 goals that are going to contribute to the success of your roles in these different areas, right? And so just for an example to give you, one of my priorities right now, or one of my roles right now, is as a wife, right? And so I'm a newlywed. It's coming up on a year on October 28th. And so one of my priorities has been to make sure that I am loving my husband well, but there's still, although we've been together for a very long time, we've been dating for almost 10 years, it's just different moving from just a dating relationship to a marriage, and we didn't live together prior to, and so there's still a lot about each other that we are learning. So one of my priorities right now is to be putting this marriage first and making sure that I'm really understanding how our personalities complement one another, and how we can partner together in our marriage, right? And so therefore, one of my goals is to make sure that I'm loving my husband well, and that I'm doing things to serve him over myself, right? And so that's just like a breakdown of how you can see a role. And then there was a priority, and then there was a goal that helped me to focus on what that priority was. So hopefully this is all making sense. So I want you to go back to the different roles that you have and your priorities in those roles, and really set goals that allow you to carry out those priorities and to steward those things well. Okay? And so once you reflected on your roles and responsibilities and you have eliminated all the ones that don't fit, then you can start grouping those roles and categories, or roles and responsibilities, into categories, and determining how those priorities and goals relate to those roles. And last but not least, once you've done all those things, number 5, you can start weaving these roles into the fabric of your everyday life. And so here's where you incorporate everything. You see everything come together. And so because each role has accompanying responsibilities that go with them, it's your job now to go into your calendar and carve out some time to focus on these priorities. So for example, say one of your roles is as small group leader, right? Obviously, some of the responsibilities associated with that role is to map out each week's Bible study. It might be to put together some events so the community can be cultivated. So therefore, you're going to have time in your calendar every week where you are actually spending time doing those things. So maybe on Sunday afternoons, you decide, okay, I'm going to prepare the lesson for Wednesday, or if you're doing that on Saturdays, right? Maybe sometime during the week, you're calling to connect with the girls and having prayer with them, and you're meeting with them one-on-one. That's associated with the responsibility of being a small group leader. And now you are weaving those responsibilities into everyday life by intentionally carving out time to carry out those responsibilities, right? And so this is how understanding what the Lord wants you to do helps you to focus on the right things that are going to have the most value and impact in your life, but also the life of others. Because here's the thing, y'all, I love personal development. It's something that I'm passionate about, but when it has a God-centered focus, it's not just about self. You are becoming the best version of you, so you can pour out and give to others. So it's not just about you and your happiness. It's not just about you and what you want. It's about how you can become the best version of you so you can love others well and you can serve and build God's kingdom. That's what purpose is. Purpose is not about you. I always say that passions is for yourself and purpose is for others, because our purpose is to serve, but there is a unique way that God has purposed you to do that. And so he has given you a unique mission, and that mission consists of your purpose, your vision, your calling, and your assignments. And he has given you a specific group of people that he has uniquely set aside for you to pour into, to cultivate, to call them out, right? And then he's given us the roles and responsibilities that fit into the context of what he has called us to do, so we can carry out our purpose and calling in this world and really love others well. And so when we can understand these things, we know how we can be best making use of our time and really making most of every opportunity that God has given us. Okay? So that is all for today's live. Now, if you want more on really making the most of your time and stewarding that and making the most of every God-given opportunity, I've actually created a free lifestyle guide. You can find that at lifedesigner.com/volume4. And so that will allow you to download this month's lifestyle guide. So every time there's a new theme for the month, there's a new lifestyle guide that consists of personal development and growth tips, as well as coaching questions that I ask you at the end of the guide, so you can really make the most of where God has you and make the most of every opportunity that he's given you. And to top that off, we're actually going to be diving into this topic even deeper than we are now on September 25th. That's a Wednesday. I'm doing the Master Your Time workshop, and I'm really going to be coaching you through defining your mission. And so if you're unclear about what your purpose is, the vision that you have for your life and the current assignments and things like that, I'm going to be walking you through some coaching exercises during that workshop, as well as helping you to really determine those purposeful priorities and really steward your time well, so you can make the most of every opportunity. And so if you want more information on that, and if you want to register, you can go to bit.ly/LDU Master Your Time. And that's going to take you to the workshop. The workshop is Wednesday, September 25th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's only $25, y'all. And so that Starbucks that y'all was going to get a whole week, every day this week, the few work lunch trips that you had, you can take that and put the money aside for the workshop. It's going to be super good. I always give tons of information, and everybody always leaves with tons of notes from my workshop as well. And so I definitely want to see you guys there, especially if you've been interested in working with me and you want to know more about what that could potentially look like. Definitely join this workshop. And last but not least, if you don't even want to do a workshop, if you're like, listen, I just need to know how I can really go from, passive and purposeless to proactive and purposeful in my everyday life. Like, I want to know my purpose and calling, and I'm tired of doing it on my own. I'm tired of listening to these self-help books and sermons and conferences that just give me inspiration and motivation. Well, I would love to invite you to work with me. I do have spots available for private coaching, and I offer complimentary, which are free discovery sessions where you can just learn at a risk-free time of just what it looks like to work with me and how we can really just partner together to make sure that you design a life that you and God love. Okay, well, that is all for now. If y'all have any questions, again, you always know where to find me. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can always DM me, or you can shoot me an email at janelle@lifedesigner.com. Okay, so that is all for today. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next live. Bye for now.